All right. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm back. That's right. Welcome to the Villain Report Live. That's right. I am your host, Russell Wayne, a.k.a. the 313 Villain. And Detroit, let me talk to you for a minute. Because while the rest of the country is still trying to figure us out, we've already arrived. And they said that window was closing on the Detroit line, but it's funny how that works. Your window is closing. Let me turn this music down a little bit for ya. That's right. A little bit more up for that. Maybe we'll change it a little bit right here. There we go. There we go. So they say that window is closing on us, but we just got ranked top 3 in free agency by Ben Solak. And see what happens when you got the front office that actually knows what they're doing. There's no panic, no desperation, just calculated moves. Meanwhile, over at LCA, the Detroit Pistons are sitting there like, y'all sure you want to keep on doubting us? Because the last time that I checked, you don't accidentally grab the 1 seed. That's not luck. That's dominance. That's dominance. And are they going to be able to keep it up? And then the Detroit Tigers step up on opening day. And yeah, we've been building something right there too. We've been building something here in Detroit with all of the sports teams. Strong showing, energy is different, and you can feel it. But then we have to have a real conversation because the Detroit Red Wings, I mean, is this really a fight to the finish, or are we watching Groundhog Day again? Are we watching something slip away in real time? No sugarcoating, no excuses, because that's what we do here. So buckle up, tap in, and let's get to it. This is the Villain Report. Now, this episode is brought to you by, let me get these out here. I'm going to show it to you. It is brought to you by TOOLology. That's right. TOOLology. On May the 9th, myself, that's me, Russell Wayne, the lead singer from a Tool tribute, the ultimate tribute to Tool, is going to be appearing live at the District 142 down in Wyandotte, which is down near Detroit. So we are brought to you by the District 42. Make sure you can use, if you want to get tickets, you can use that QR code up in the upper left-hand corner. And before you do that, I would like you to reach out to me because I could get you on the guest list because I know a guy that's in that band, which is me. And I would love to be able to take care of any of the listeners on this show. So you let me know if you want to go to that concert on May the 9th at the District 142, TOOLology, the ultimate tribute to Tool. Well, special guest, our friends from up here in the Flint town, Never the Crash. Awesome original band, awesome original music. So let's get to it. Let's move and let's go and say hello to everybody that is in the comments so far. And yes, it's been a while. What's up, David?
You like that?
Love seeing David in here. Yeah, well, Donkey Kong 43's in the house.
You like that? You like that?
And Nick Mann will be there. He
You
says
like
that
that?
he's going to be there at the District 142. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. We just sold out a show at the Machine Shop here in Flint, and I decided that I haven't had enough of that yet, and I want to keep that going. And it's going to be really cool. We're going to be in Cleveland a little bit later in that month. We're starting to book a couple more shows, and yeah, I'm going to paint up my face. We're going to get crazy. We're going to get crazy as we do that thing. But if you want tickets, you got that QR code sitting up there in the upper left-hand corner, as we're going to get in here and start talking about some of these things that are going on right now. First of all, let's start out with the Detroit Tigers. So the Detroit Tigers had opening day, and it couldn't have really went any better when you really think about it. You know, they win 8-2 over the San Diego Padres. They go out to the West Coast, and they put a beat down on them. Right from the get-go, they scored 4 runs in the first inning, and it was amazing. But the real story to that was Kevin McGonigal, the number 2 overall prospect in all of baseball, down in the minor leagues. The question was all offseason, are they going to bring this guy up? Are they going to give him a shot? And a lot of the popular opinion was he only had a couple more weeks before they could have control of him for an extra year, but they chose to put him on the opening day roster, which I thought was very, very cool. That, you know, you're not just trying to get the money thing down. You're not just trying to save money down the road. You're going in there, and you're going in there to win now. And boy, was that ever a good move, or at least what it looks like right off the bat. Dude goes 4 for 5. Had 2 RBIs in the first inning, and that's so cool to me. You got the young guy, he's one of the best hitting prospects. It's the third baseman that the Detroit Tigers have been looking for a while now. So what do you think about the Detroit Tigers blasting the San Diego Padres on the first game of the season, and Kevin McGonigal going 4 for 5 in his debut, looking like the real deal, looking like it was a good move right off the bat? Let me know what you think about that game in the comments. Nick wants to know when I'm bringing back the Alice in Chains. I can't really bring back the Alice in Chains. That kind of got taken over. They got a Alice in Chains tribute that is playing here at the machine shop. And, you know, you really don't want to double dip off of something like that. You know, you don't want to start competing when it comes with that type of thing, because there is really only one good spot in each city to go and play some of the music. So we made an educated decision and went ahead and went with the Tool tribute. We think that we do that a little bit. I mean, we did do the Alice in Chains. I really love singing some Alice in Chains. I'm the man in the box, buried in my shit. I don't know. So it could happen possibly in the future. Maybe when it comes to you know, some of the anniversaries. But when we did the Alice in Chains, it was the 20-year anniversary of that 1996 version of the MTV Unplugged, and hired a saxophone player to do all of the guitar solos. So it was a little bit different. A little bit different version of Alice in Chains, if you saw that. Yes, thank you, David. Faith, family, and then football. That's right. It's in that order that we like to do that. Shout out to my Lord and my Creator with that one being said right there. Shout out to Broski's in the house. Congratulations on winning the NFC North and beating the Packers in the first round of the playoffs. I haven't got a chance to do that yet and say that to anybody yet. I'm finally out of Facebook jail. They're allowing me to go live on my Facebook page, and it feels good. And you know, especially with this Aussie, I was getting worried there for a minute that Facebook was going to keep on keeping on me. And, you know, I figured since it was the off season, I could just take some time to myself and, you know, and I didn't have to do anything. But then they started doing the free agency stuff, and it's like, I gotta talk about some of this stuff. I did a show about 2 weeks ago Still wasn't able to do, and I had John Macaroon on here, but I still wasn't able to go live on the page. But now I'm officially out of Facebook jail, and yes, it has been a while, but I'm so happy to be on here. I am grateful to be talking a little bit of sports, a little bit of Detroit sports. I want to expand a little bit right here. And Ken Doby. Ken Doby's in the house. And I know I got to say congratulations for winning the NFC North when it comes with Ben Johnson's Chicago Bears. Feeling pretty good about that team. You should be feeling pretty good about that team. And I'm glad I got to talk some of you Bear fans off of the ledge last year after a horrible start to the season. And I knew that schedule laid out real nice for you and that you could do it. You know, you had a chance to have some momentum. And now you have a nice young team. You got a good coach, and hopefully we can stuff these Packers down at the bottom of the NFC North for a while, and it isn't the Lions again. But the first topic that I had on there as a review, I went in there. We're talking about the Detroit Tigers. They win 8-2 over the San Diego Padres in the first game of the season. And the real story was Kevin McGonigal, the number 2 overall prospect. They brought him up on the opening day roster. He goes 4 for 5 with 2 RBIs, and that's really, really good to see if you were one of the lucky people to actually be able to see it. And I don't know how you got to get MLB for streaming or whatever that is. They're making it so hard to watch sports nowadays that, you know, I hope that you got a chance to see it, or at least see some of the replays on it. Ken Doby says the Padres are already eliminated from playoff contention. That's all right. That's all right. It's good to see the Tigers win in the first game of the season. Skubal was dealing. One of the best pitchers in baseball, if not the best pitcher in baseball. And if you're a Tiger fan, you should feel pretty good about this team. They got great pitching. You know, they've been crying about, let's get some hitting in there. And a lot like the Detroit Lions, they believe in the young talent. The team, they got a lot of good prospects that are down in the minor leagues that have been showing out a little bit. And they brought one up in Kevin McGonigal on the opening day roster, and he delivered in that first game. So I know it's only one game. They play 8,000 games in baseball, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but I'm not going to minimize the win. So moving on to the Detroit Pistons. Let's talk about these Pistons right here, because here's something that made me feel pretty good, because a lot of people thought that when Cade Cunningham went down, and if you didn't know that already and you've been living underneath of a rock, Cade Cunningham had a collapsed lung and he's going to be out. And he's going to be out for a little bit. It may even, I don't know if it's going to linger into the playoffs, but he's out. And a lot of people were like, oh no, there goes the 1 seed right there. But it turns out that the Pistons are still pretty good without Cade Cunningham too, because they don't just have one player on the roster. The Pistons have many good players on the roster, and that feels pretty good as well. So right now, the Pistons sit at 53-20, and they are the number 1 seed if the season ended today. And They are 4.5 games ahead of the Celtics, who have the 2 seed. Right now, they are guaranteed, even if they lost every single game and every other team won that needed to win, they would be guaranteed the 5 seed if they lost every game, and they're not going to lose every game. They are 1 game away from locking in at least the 4 seed, but let's not think small here. This is a very, very good team. They have a lot of good players. And last night, they beat the New Orleans Pelicans, which is not a good team, by the way, but they beat them up pretty good. And 129 to 108. And the hero of that game being Kevin Huerter. Look at that. So the Pistons, let's backtrack a little bit because I haven't got a chance to talk about any of this stuff. But at the trade deadline, they traded Jaden Ivey to the Chicago Bulls for Kevin Huerter and one of their backup pieces that we ended up releasing, and like 2nd round pick. But Kevin Huerter is coming on and has been playing very well over the last couple games. Last night, he had 22 points. He was 4 for 7 from three-point range. He was 9 for 14 on field goals. And he's playing good defense. He's able to get a steal. And he is a plus player while he's out there. Now, why is that important right now? Well, for one, because you don't have Cade Cunningham and you need people to step up if you expect to win any games. But what's good about that is when the playoffs do come and Cade Cunningham does come back, you need to have other shooters. You need to have people that can hit that 3 ball, especially with the style that Cade Cunningham plays. Cade Cunningham plays, a distribution type of basketball. Now, he can score. He can take games over. But you don't want that to be the only thing that he can do. So I'll ask you about the Pistons. Do you think that the Pistons are going to be able to hold on to this 1 seed? Let's go there first. Can the Pistons hold on to the 1 seed without their star, without their main guy, Cade Cunningham? And hit that like button, by the way. If you're listening to this, support the local guy here. I'm just a guy. I'm not endorsed by anybody. And your likes, your comments, your interaction with this program is the way that you can help me out. And I would appreciate if you do that. Hit that like button. Make sure you throw some comments in. Like Vass Holt right there. Good morning, my brother.
You like that?
Good morning to Duncan.
You like that? You like that?
And yes. And you don't have to be sorry to be late to the show. I've been late all off season right here because I've been kicked out of Facebook. But we're talking about the Detroit Pistons right now. The Detroit Pistons. If the season ended today, the Pistons would be the 1 seed. So things are looking good in Detroit right now. I mean, other than the Red Wings, we'll get to that in a little bit. But the Pistons are looking really good right now. They win last night, 129 to 108 over the Pelicans to move to 53-20. They already locked in a playoff spot, and they are working. They are working towards locking up that 1 seed. So let's take a look at their games that they had left. Well, before we do that, on last night's game, Tobias Harris had 12 points and 7 assists. Asar Thompson had 11 points, but he was 4 for 4 from field goal, so he was taking advantage. And obviously, he's out there blocking shots and doing what he does. Jalen Duren doing Jalen Duren things. That's 30 points, 10 rebounds, another double-double for him. And the star of the game, Kevin Huerter, 22 points, 4 for 7 from three-point land. And then Dennis Jenkins. He's the man that's really stepped up in the absence of Cade Cunningham, again, with 19 points, 5 for 7 from three-point range. And, you know, you have contributors. All of the starting players were able to get over 10 points. So it isn't just one person. And that's a good thing. Because going into the playoffs, you got to have other guys that can step up. So there's 9 games left in the season. You got the Timberwolves that are coming up next, and they're not good. So you got victories in here, and then they play the Thunder. That's going to be a good game. That should be a marquee matchup right there. And then you got the Rappers. Rappers. The Rappers. Yeah. The Raptors coming up after that. So you got 2 pretty tough games after the Timberwolves, but then you go back and you play the Timberwolves again. You're playing the 76ers. Then you're playing the Magic. You're playing the Bucks. You're playing the Hornets and the Pacers. So you're not playing great teams going down the stretch other than the Raptors and the Thunder. Let me see if that's right. Yeah, the Raptors are fighting for a playoff spot. But you're not looking at great teams when you're talking about like the Timberwolves. So the Pistons have a really, really good opportunity to lock up this 1 seed. Because as the games are getting less and less, right now they're sitting at 4.5 games ahead of the Celtics. So if you go 6-6, I mean, or 6-5 or 5-6, if you win 5 more games, you're gonna lock that up. That's the magic number. And that's if the Celtics are able to win every one of their games, which that's not probable. So Pistons looking good, man. Pistons looking good. Pistons are back. David says Pistons are back. The Red Wings are on the outside looking in again. That's a great segue. Thank you, David.
You like that?
I appreciate that. The Red Wings. What the hell's going on here? They had Larkin in that last game. Running out of excuses. The Red Wings, it seems like they're doing it again. Right now, they're on the outside looking in. They got some games left. Looks like they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 11 games left. And they got to make up some ground. And they have tough games left. They have games against teams that are trying to get into the playoffs. I mean, you're looking at this division, and what a division that is. You know, in the Western Conference, God, don't you wish you were in the Western Conference? But they're not. They got 84 points, and they got to get ahead of the Senators, the Islanders, and they got to make up some ground. They got to hope for some other teams to fall off. How many points do you think they're going to need? I mean, I think that they're going to have to win at least 7 or 8 of these games going down the stretch. They got to go on a streak. They got to go on a streak to get it back in there. And so that's really the only bad thing in Detroit right now. Because here we are in the most hopeful part of the season, the offseason for the Detroit Lions. Let's talk about the free agency. Let's talk about free agency. Because I like to play villain's advocate when it comes with this type of stuff. And I like to take whatever takes that are going out there, and all the other outlets right now are in doom and gloom for the Detroit Lions. And I'm going to go on the other side of that because we don't really know anything when it comes with a lot of these players that they're bringing in. You know, we as fans tend to gravitate towards the named players that are out there, and you get 4 or 5 guys that are out there. Oh, you gotta get Joe. You gotta get Joey Bosa. Oh, you gotta trade for Max Crosby. Oh, you gotta go out and spend a whole bunch of money. And I've never thought that they needed to spend a whole ton of money. Now, would I have loved for them to go out and trade for Myles Garrett or Max Crosby and have the big marquee name guy on there? Yes. I'm on record for saying that. I'm an excited fan. I want to see that. You know, I like to see that type of stuff. Though, F them picks. Which there's no proof that works. There's proof that it has worked. But if all 32 teams decide that they all want to go all in, only one team can win. And just look at last season when you're looking at what to do, and 0 people. You know, if we all think we're so damn smart. And no people last year picked the Seattle Seahawks versus the New England Patriots. 0 people. Nobody had that. So stop acting like you're so smart. So ESPN, and let's talk about this a little bit, you know. Well, first, let's talk, before we get into the ESPN part, let's go in here and talk about what the Lions actually did. So, the first question in the offseason really came from are they going to be able to get these extensions done? Not extensions, but restructures, because the Lions didn't have any money at the beginning of the offseason. So that was the first question that was out there. But then that question was answered, and they did make a couple of moves at the get-go. So they re-signed Teddy Bridgewater as a backup QB. I got no issues with that move. Going down the lines of these, they ended up trading David Montgomery for a 4th and 7th round pick, and he didn't want to be here. Most people thought they were only going to get a 5th round pick, and they end up getting a 4th and a 7th and a player. So I don't have any issues with that move. They're trying to get younger, so they sign Isaiah Pacheco to a minimum deal. They sign wide receiver and kick returner Greg Dortch to a minimum contract, and he has experience with the new offensive coordinator Drew Petzing. and he will most likely take over Khalif Raymond's job. And Khalif Raymond got himself a mini bag over in Chicago, where that's also a good move, is to go where you're familiar. That's a good move for Chicago, and it's a good move for the Lions to move off of him. Lions also signed tight end Tyler Conklin to a 1-year minimum type of deal. And if you know anything about Drew Petzing, he loves to use 13 personnel, which is a lot of tight ends. And this was kind of predictable as well. Another good move. And then they signed center Cade Mays to a 3-year, $25 million deal. Now, this is more of a prospect type of gig right here. Perspective. He was the 3rd rated tight end that was in free agency, but what they're really signing him for is the projection of what he was going to be, because he came out as a guard and he got forced into the center position and was a very good pass blocker, not so good of a run blocker. If you're looking solely at PFF, that's what you're going to see right there. But what you're really looking at is somebody that can pass block. And where Jared Goff is the weakest as a QB is when he gets pressure right up the middle. So this right here is a massive upgrade over Graham Glasgow. Now, it had to be. I'm not trying to say that Cade Mays is going to be the end-all be-all here. But what I am saying is you needed a massive upgrade in the middle. You lost Frank Ragnow, and I got on here last year thinking that they could just overcome that. And I thought Tate Ratledge and Mahogany that would be able to, as a collective, be okay. But turns out that loss of Kevin Zeitler and Frank Ragnow were devastating. Now, the cool thing is Jared Goff still had a very good season last year, put up top 5 numbers, and he took all of the haters that were like, oh, Goff needs to have everything be perfect in order for him to be successful. Well, he proved that wrong. Still going for 4,600 yards and over 30 touchdowns on a season, and he had no protection. The running game was anemic at points. You know, they had some explosion plays. Jahmyr Gibbs had kind of a breakout season, but the offensive line took a major step back last year, which is understandable. New coordinator and 2 very good players that they ended up moving on from. But I like this Cade Mays signing. I'm sorry I spent so much time on that. But 3 years, $25 million. That's awesome. They signed more depth to the offensive line. Ben Bartch, coming from San Francisco, who was a plus player. Offensive tackle, Larry Borum. Borum. 1 million or 1 year, $5 million. And it looks like they want him to play some right tackle in there. I'm not too excited about that one. That's the one okay, we'll see. Edge, DJ Wonnum. Got a 1 year, $3 million deal. With some incentives. 1 year, $3 million deal with some incentives that could get him up to $6 million. Now, I like this deal right here way more than most people do. I think that everybody is so obsessed with getting a Max Crosby that you just don't see what it was, or they, oh my God, you didn't re-sign Al-Quadin Muhammad. He had 11 sacks last year. And what I say to that is, did you watch the games? Did you watch the games, or do you just look at the sack totals at the end? For one, Al-Quadin Muhammad got most of his sacks in a couple of games. He dominated a couple of games. I think he had 2-3 sack games. Then he had 5 sacks for the rest of the season. Now, here's something else that I noticed because I watched the games, is at the end of the season, did anybody notice that teams were able to run on the Detroit Lions and close out games? Pittsburgh Steelers ran all over the Detroit Lions. Do you know why they ran all over the Detroit Lions? They ran over the Detroit Lions because Mike Tomlin is a smart coach, and when he saw that Al-Quadin Muhammad was out there, they would change their play to run the ball right at Al-Quadin Muhammad. Now, I love the good sacks. We want sacks, right? We want sacks. Well, Aiden Hutchinson can bring you some sacks. Well, we don't need sacks on the other side. They're nice to get on the other side, but you cannot be a liability in the run game. A liability. That's what Al-Quadin Muhammad is. Was a liability in the run game. They only had him go out there on pass rushing downs. And teams started getting hip to that by the end of the year. And when they would put Muhammad out there, even if they had a pass, they would run the ball right at him. Now, DJ Wonnum might not be a 12 sack a year guy, but he stops the run. He's very, very good against the run. You're not going to have to take him off of the field. I loved this signing, especially for the value that they got it at. DJ Wonnum is going to make the defense a lot better. Oh, we need a pass rusher opposite. Well, he's a defensive end opposite of Hutchinson. He didn't have a great sack. He only had 3 sacks last year. As the primary pass rusher, he had 3 sacks. He didn't have an awful season. He still sets an edge. But the last time that DJ Wonnum had a good pass rusher on the opposite side of him was when he was in Minnesota. He was in Minnesota, and he had a season with 8 sacks and a season with 9 sacks. Which goes to show that DJ Wonnum can get sacks as long as he's got a good defensive end on the other side. Oh, and guess what? The Lions have Aiden Hutchinson, which is a good defensive end on the other side. So I'm excited for this signing of DJ Wonnum because I think that he's going to play well this year. I think he's going to make the defense a lot better by adding his presence because he doesn't have to come off the field on 3rd down. He can stop the run. He can eat up blocks and open up things for Aiden Hutchinson. So that's an underestimated signing, especially when I listen to Lion fans that are out there that are trying to shit on every single signing that they've had. So I've went through most of these signings right here. Teddy Bridgewater, Isaiah Pacheco, Greg Dortch, Tyler Conklin, Cade Mays, Ben Barch, Larry Borum, DJ Wonnum. The only one I'm not very excited about was Larry Borum. Okay. Let's move on. Peyton Turner. Oh, I guess there's two of them that I'm not real excited about. Peyton Turner, the often injured, the brand new Marcus Davenport. Marcus Davenport 2.
You like that?
Nah, I'm not sure if I like that one too much, but here's the thing. Here's what I'll say about Peyton Turner. He was a first-round pick. He's got freakish athletic abilities. He's a freak. He's a freak of nature, and you have to fill a 90-man roster first. I don't think that Peyton Turner makes the team. And if he does make the team, maybe they can get some of that freakish athletic ability to translate. If he's not injured, if he doesn't injure his foot or his toe in training camp, I'm not excited about that one. I'll be totally honest with you. Peyton Turner, meh. Then they signed Damone Clark to a 1-year minimum deal, linebacker. And this one's not an exciting one, but you lost Grant Stewart. Damone Clark is a good special teams ace. So I really just think that he's a 1-for-1. You know, you're talking deep linebacker depth with, a guy that can play special teams. So I don't mind that deal. You definitely have to fill out the roster with that. Nickelback Roger McCreary, minimum deal. And this one kind of surprised me that they got a minimum deal on him. I mean, Nickelbacks probably just aren't worth as much anymore, I guess. But he's a good player. McCreary was a good player. He provides depth. He's a guy that can play safety. He's a guy that can play nickelback. He can cover tight ends. He's an aggressive player. He's always going after the ball, another punch-out ball, and it's an upgrade. I mean, you can look at it even on PFF. Amik Robertson was not good last year. So, straight up, Roger McCreary is a bona fide upgrade over Amik Robertson. Boom. There it is. And then defensive back Christian Izien, 1-year, $2 million deal, and a guy that can play inside or outside, creating more depth. And now, since we don't know what's going on with Terrion Arnold, that ends up being a nice pickup right there. So let's go into what ESPN writer Ben Solak said that the Lions had the number 3 free agency in all of football. And I've kind of already went over the facts on there. It's like, you may not like the moves. They may not be the sexy moves right there, but there's only a couple guys on there that I was just kind of like, meh. Everybody else was fine. So he says, and quote, Solak wrote, I loved the dart throws. Detroit has more needs than money to throw around, but it did extremely well to take high upside swings in the margins. Pacheco can't be 100% of what David Montgomery was for them, but the Lions don't want that anymore. They want capable, short yardage, pass protecting running backs to relieve Jahmyr Gibbs, and they got that at a veteran minimum. And he also said the Lions also get a functional starter at center. Cade Mays, $8 million per year in an offseason where the center market was exploding. Linderbaum got $27 million a year. We weren't going to pay that. Wanham is an ideally number 3 edge instead of a number 2 option, but opposite Aiden Hutchinson, he can fill the Al-Quadin Muhammad shoes and then some At corner, McCreary can start if he's healthy. Class is filled with great value. I don't have any problem with any of that. I don't have any problem with any of that. You know, I mean, you can say what Broski's saying. And said he's only played center for 2 seasons. Well, that's why you got him for $8 million a year. You got him for $8 million a year, and you didn't pay $27 million a year. So they took some swings, and that is the way that he put it in there. And I get that. I get that. You know, you're not going to be able to take $20 million swings on the offseason. Not on free agents. I was talking about that last year. Why won't they go all in? Well, I know why they won't go all in. They got their own guys that they want to pay. You know, and you can make the argument that they fall in love with their guys too much. But when your guys are the best guys at their position, you want to keep those guys. I remember when Ndamukong Suh left. It's like, why wouldn't you pay the best at their position? You got to pay the guys that are the best at their position. You know, you got to pay Jack Campbell. You know, you want to keep Jahmyr Gibbs around. You want to keep Sam Laporte around. You want to keep Brian Branch around. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, you can't do that by going all in on free agents that you know nothing about. So the Cade Mays ends up, I think that's a great deal because you'll figure out this year if he can fill those shoes. And one thing is for sure about Cade Mays is he's a massive upgrade over Graham Glasgow. And it has to be. You can be a massive upgrade over Graham Glasgow and be slightly above average. Slightly above average at center is a massive upgrade over Graham Glasgow. I would have loved to have Linderbaum. Linderbaum would be great to have here, but that's not in your cards, man. As a matter of fact, I'm surprised that's one of the guys that I was surprised that the Ravens let walk out the door. But, you know, I guess if the Raiders are dumb enough to pay him $8 million over the second highest paid center, it is what it is, man. So Cade Mays was the next man up. He was the next best guy. He was a third-rated guy. You know, the Bills didn't move off of their McGovern, so Cade Mays was it. And what Cade Mays does really good and what he did last year really good is he protects in the middle. He protects in the middle, and Goff is Goffle. He is Goffle when pressure comes up the middle. It was that was the most needed upgrade that they had. And I loved the DJ Wonnum pick. DJ Wonnum pick because what I like about what Brad Holmes does is he doesn't just look at last year. Doesn't just look at last year because that's what most of us talking heads do is we look at, oh, look at what PFF said that he was last year. Well, I look at what was DJ Wonnum the last time that he had a similar situation that he's going to have this year. DJ Wonnum had nobody last year. They got rid of Brian Burns. They didn't have anybody. He's going out there solo. And by the way, they got into the playoffs last year with that defense. That defense played way better at the end of the season. And Wonnum sets the edge, man. That's where Al-Quadin Muhammad failed miserably last year. He got a lot of sacks. And they only put him out there on the pass rushing downs. They just let him pin his ears back and go after the quarterback. But the thing is at the end of the season, like Minnesota, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, like the backup running back for the New York Giants, every time they saw Muhammad out there, they ran right at him. And they feasted. It's great to have a pass rusher that gets you sacks. But if you're not setting an edge, then the sacks don't mean anything. Yeah, you get them behind the line of scrimmage, but you can't stop the run. I'm sorry, but the first thing that you need to do as a pass rusher or a defensive end, if you can't stop the run, you can keep your sacks. If you can't stop the run, you're not winning the game. You're definitely not winning any meaningful games. And that's what Wonham brings to the Lions. And I'll go on record right now to say that at the end of the season, this coming season, that DJ Wonham will be the best free agent value that the Lions got in this free agency. And they seem to be able to do it. So let's go back in here and get these, see what we got. Anything. David says that Mays was a smart move and the Demo trade was also. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's another thing too. Wonham was good at dropping into coverage too. He's just not lightning fast. And I know that the Lions like to do that every once in a while too, don't they? I don't necessarily like that too much. Well, what do you mean Wonham wasn't good? Wonham was fine last year. You got to look at more than PFF grades, broski. I can't. Not going to pay. We're not going to pay Laporta or Branch anymore. Saskatoon, the Lion. I'm just going to say the Sasquatchian Lion right there. We don't have to pay anyone else early. There you go. I'm talking about Mays and Wonham. Yes, I think that those are the two major plays right there. David says, broski, give all your negative thoughts on the Bears. Doesn't have very much negative thoughts on the Bears. I mean, they lost their center like we did to retirement. Wonham's a jag. I just don't believe that. I mean, you can look at Wonham as just a guy. That's fine. I mean, you guys can have your own opinions on that. I'm not gonna push against any of those opinions, but I think that at the end of the season, we'll come on here and I'll beat my chest when Wonham has a good year. He's gonna have a good year, I think, and it isn't even necessarily because he's so good. Like, you have to go back. If you want to look at a situation on how the Lions are going to use them, you got to go back and you got to watch the Minnesota tape. Because he had an elite pass rusher on the opposite side of him, and Daniil Hunter. And when he's got an elite pass rusher and he's able to work off of that, just like Al-Quadin Muhammad did, when you got a pass rusher to work off of, it's going to be different. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to have 10 sacks. So Sasquatchian lion. I mean, I know that you think that he's just a guy. He may have the stats this coming year that might back your thing. I mean, he might not get 10 sacks, but we don't need him to have the sacks. We need, first of all, you need a guy that isn't going to be a liability in the run game. When the Lions went to the NFC Championship, their defense wasn't great, but they stopped the run. You could count on them stopping the run. So when you're going into and you're looking at what's going to happen next season, you know, like Muhammad was not good at stopping the run. As a matter of fact, teams started targeting him, Al-Quadin Muhammad, last year, because they knew that he couldn't stop the run. You have a 3rd and 7. I mean, they completed 3 long 3rd down plays in that Pittsburgh game because they decided to run the ball. Teams get hit. Teams aren't stupid in the NFL. If Muhammad keeps on getting sacks on you and you know that he can't stop the run, the teams just got hip to it. And Wonham's a good run defender. And I need that first. Now, I'm not, like I said, he's not going to get you 15 sacks. That is not what Wonham's going to do. The Lions still need to go into the draft with a mentality that we need more pass rushers. We need more pass rush. We need to go into free agency and get more pass rush. But as far as a Band-Aid, it's an upgrade over Al-Quadin Muhammad. Twice a week, 5 times a week, 8 times a week, twice on Sunday. I'll take that all day over somebody that's going to be a liability in a run. And I believe in that. But what do you think about this ESPN writer, Ben Solak, saying that the Lions had the number 3 free agency in all football? Let me know that in the comments. Let's see. Put these comments on. I forget. Why didn't you tell me, broski, that I didn't have the comments up there? I thought the comments were live. They didn't. Oops. But I think that's too high. I mean, I like what they did. I think when you look at what they did for how much money they had, I think they did a really good job. I think Brad Holmes did Brad Holmes things. Man, broski, you are so full of yourself, man. Like you post all the stuff in here, and I'm looking at it. I know. Ask me a specific question, and I'll answer. I think that what people do is like you have so many opinions on the Lions, and that frustrates. I don't think that they can't take criticism. Because you don't give criticism, you give trolling. That's why people call you Trollski. That isn't something I made up. And I think that I'm pretty realistic when I come with a lot of these things. And I look at this free agency. And I'm looking at the free agency. It's like, I don't think they have the best. I don't think it's the 3rd best free agency. I mean, I can't really answer that honestly because I really didn't look at everybody else's free agency. But it's hard for me to say you got the 3rd best free agency when you only had one major contract, and it isn't even a major contract. It's a mediocre contract to Cade Mays. And I like what the Lions did. I mean, there's not anything on there that they did that I'm like, oh, why did you do that? That's dumb. Like, there's nothing that's dumb. You picked up offensive linemen. You needed offensive linemen. You needed depth more than anything else. People that complain that the Lions didn't go out and get a bunch of starters. We don't need a bunch of starters. There's not a bunch of starters that are needed. We needed depth. We lost depth. And the moves that they made for the starters are either A, you're looking for a guy to come in that you've been developing. Like, let's take Alex Anzalone, for instance. What are you going to do with the other linebacker? Well, you got Jack Campbell, who graded out as the best linebacker in football. That's why you got to pay him, because you got a top 5 guy at his position. You got Derek Barnes. Didn't play very well last year, but you did pay him. He's on a short deal. It's kind of like a prove it. You're going to be able to get rid of Derek Barnes this year, or next year, I should say, after the season if he doesn't play well. So there's 2 of your linebackers. And then to replace Alex Anzalone, you're bringing back in, which now is the fully healthy Malcolm Rodriguez. That's the answer to Alex Anzalone. You know, it's not that far outside of the box that when you lose a guy because of money, that you have another guy that's there that you want to step up into that spot because you've been developing them. So there's a starter fill, but the other 2 parts, you're not looking for starter quality linebackers. You are looking for starter quality linebackers, but that's why you're doing it on the cheap. Like, running back wise, you lost David Montgomery. Well, you have Jahmyr Gibbs. And that's the main reason that you moved on from David Montgomery. For one, David Montgomery wants to go to a place where he's going to run the ball 20 times a game. He can't get that here. He won't get that here. Jahmyr Gibbs is too good not to put him out there. And now, is Isaiah Pacheco, is he a straight 1-for-1 replacement over David Montgomery? No. You want to use Jahmyr Gibbs more. That's one thing. So the tick is actually going to go down. What you're going to use Pacheco for is 3rd and 1. The guy can get you 1 yard. And if you're worried about the injury thing, Pacheco is not your bell cow back. That is going to lend into the idea of Pacheco and how they're going to use him here. Now, like I said, is Pacheco a 1-for-1 David Montgomery? No. David Montgomery is an upper tier back. And they were amply compensated for David Montgomery. They were a little bit above market value. Now, the other part of the running back thing is you have Sione Vaki. You want to be able to get him more carries. He didn't get hardly any carries last year. You invested a 4th-round pick on him. It's about time you see what he can do. And I have full confidence that Sione Vaki can come in and play that Craig Reynolds role as a 3rd running back. Jahmyr Gibbs is your bell cow back. You want to get him as many touches as you possibly can without running the tires off of him. Pacheco is just fine at being that change of pace. They run very, very different styles. I mean, I'll argue this all day as Pacheco runs just as hard as Montgomery does. As a matter of fact, he might run too hard at times. That's why he got injured. And then Sione Vaki, you don't know what you got in him. You got to see what you got in him. And he plays that special teams role. So there's the running back. Let's go into the wide receivers. You lost Khalif Raymond. Well, you don't go out and get a starting level wide receiver to replace your number 4 receiver. And a kick returner. You got Greg Dortch. Greg Dortch actually was a better returner last year. But, I mean, Khalif Raymond regressed last year. He didn't have as good of a season. Now, you can argue it's because they were kicking inside of the 10-yard line and they were – I mean, you can make that case. Khalif Raymond's always a good player. They used him sparingly, and every single time that they would use Khalif Raymond, he would produce. I mean, it seemed like every time he'd catch 2 balls and it would both be third down conversions. So I'll say this, that Khalif Raymond, it breaks my heart that he went to Chicago because he's a good player. They got a good player in Khalif Raymond. But Greg Dortch does kick returning and punt returning, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And he's a guy that's quick. You can do specialty type of plays with him too. And as a number 4 wide receiver, he's just fine. You got him on a minimum deal. You got him cheaper. You didn't need a starter level type of guy. You don't have to pay that starter level money. It's okay. I did well right there. And then you got Isaac Tesla. You spent 2 third round picks on him, or 3. If you count the one they used. So you want to get him in there. So now you have one of the best wide receiver cores in the National Football League. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that took advantage of the opportunities that were given to him. Isaac Tesla. What do you have? 20 targets? 6 touchdowns? That's pretty damn good. You know, you got a guy. I mean, what were we crying about? 2022, 2023. Oh, we need an X receiver. Oh, we need an X receiver. We need a tall receiver. Tim Patrick came in, did just fine, but Isaac Tesla satisfies that. So now you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, and Isaac Tesla for the next 4 years. Don't have to even worry about that. So you didn't have to spend a ton. Now, offensive line. Now, you went out and that was your biggest spend. You needed to shore up the middle, and you went out and got Cade Mays on a 3-year deal. That if he's not good, that you can get out of it after 2. You also went out there and got Barch. You got Borum. And you shored up the depth of the offensive line. Because I would argue that the offensive line didn't fall apart last year just because of the starters. The offensive line, once Mahogany went down, you didn't have answers after that. So them going in there, you know, you got Juice Scruggs, who is a guy that can do all 3. He's another Graham Glasgow. Barch, that's another Graham Glasgow type of guy. He can play both positions. You know, you got Tate Ratledge, who definitely came on at the end of the year. And, you know, you spent a 2nd-round pick on him. That's your guy. That's your guy. And now you have a 3-way competition, maybe even 4-way if you want to put Miles Frazier in there at the left guard position. So you've really, without spending a ton of money, you've shored up the offensive line, the depth of the offensive line, and you're going to figure some things out. Like I said, the only one that I really, you know, didn't care too much about was the Larry Borum one. But turns out Brad Holmes thinks more of him than some stupid podcast guy. So let it go. Let it go. And tight end wise, well, you got Drew Petzing, who loves to run 13 personnel. So they go out and they get Tyler Conklin, who's been a good tight end in the league. There's nothing wrong with that pickup. It's not high end. It's not, going out and getting Travis Kelce or David Njoku, but it's another tight end that blocks well that you can put out there in 13 personnel. And by the way, on 13 personnel, you don't need 3 all-star tight ends. You can put a guy like Isaac Tesla in that third tight end spot. If you can put Dan Skipper in that third tight end spot, you can certainly put Isaac Tesla in there. So when you're looking out at some of these, these 13 personnel plays that they're going to be running. So tight end, they shored that up. And what else is there on offense? That's it. QB. Well, you picked up Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater threw a touchdown pass in the playoff game. If anything, you upgraded on that. I mean, he's definitely better than Allen. Teddy Bridgewater, Teddy B, Teddy Two Gloves. Ain't nothing wrong with that. So offensively, you're looking good after free agency, right? In my opinion. You want to go into the draft. You definitely want to get younger in there. So, I still fully expect them to go after, a right tackle. I expect them to move Penei Sewell over to left tackle. In this offseason, I've been calling that. The minute that Taylor Decker retired, you kind of were looking at that. So defensively, on the defensive line, you lost DJ Reader. You lost Roy Lopez. Now, what did they do to replace those players? Well, you're getting Levi Onwuzurike back. And you guys can say whatever you want about Levi Onwuzurike. He was injured last year. It's another injury-prone guy, right? Well, he completely recovered from his back injury that he had. So that wasn't the issue last year that he's coming back from. So as the last season that Levi Onwuzurike played, he was a plus player. He was actually one of the most sought after defensive tackles going into last year. And they were able to re-sign him. Now, because of a rule that the NFL has, because he didn't play at all last year, the Lions were able to bring him back on a minimum contract. So he's not a starting level defensive tackle. I'm not saying he's the end-all be-all. But he can certainly fill that Roy Lopez off the bench type of deal, which is good. Then you got Aleem McNeil, and then you have Tyleik Williams from last year. I think that's a good 1-2-3 combo when it comes to the defensive line, the interior defensive line. So, I guess you could argue that we're going backwards right there. I don't know. But you want your second round or your first round draft pick from last year, and Tyleik Williams, he started out the year slow, but like all rookies, if you're going to start figuring out the speed of the game, he got better at the end of the year, especially against the run. Was a plus player at getting interior pressure. Aleem McNeil, he came back from his ACL injury last year. A lot of people argue this, but when you come back from ACL injuries, you're not going to be exactly the same. I look at Aleem McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson to have much better years 1 year removed from their massive injuries. We're looking at that. So I like where that's at, you know, and let's go into the defensive ends. You got Aiden Hutchinson and then Wonham. I like the Wonham because he's a number 3 pass rusher. And you want to get more people in there, but he's that Band-Aid. He's a solid player that is going to come in off of the bench. Now, if you're only depending on him, then maybe I see where you would want more. And I hope that they do get more. But even if they don't get more, but like I said, I believe that free agency signing is going to look really, really good by the end of next year. Now, you have Ahmed Hassanin, your 6th round draft pick from last year. How good is he going to be? You know? And then the Peyton Turner, I mean, that's a camp body. I don't even think he's going to make the team, but we'll see. We'll see. Freakish athlete. We'll see if he can even make it through right there. So I actually think when you look at Wonham over Muhammad, I actually think that you've upgraded the pass rushing room. Not by a ton, but you did by a little bit. And like I said, I've already went over the linebackers. Now, from the secondary, let's look at the secondary. We don't know anything about a couple guys. Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, and Terrion Arnold. What the hell is going on with Terrion Arnold? What is going on with Terrion Arnold? He's out there setting up hits and kidnappings. Are we even going to have Terrion Arnold this year? What in the world is going on? Now, it's innocent until proven guilty, right? So I don't know if we're going to have him. And it seems like Brad Holmes is attacking free agency like he isn't going to have Terrion Arnold. So what do we got to say about the secondary? Let's start with the cornerbacks. Who are your cornerbacks? You got Terrion Arnold and you have Ennis Rakestraw. I said it. I have Ennis Rakestraw. You can write him off all you want. But right now, he's fully healthy. He's been working out. And you got to see what you have. You spent a 2nd round pick on him. He's not invisible because you haven't seen him. Now, if he gets injured again, then it is what it is. You know, what are you going to do? But right now, he's on the team. He's been practicing. So, Ennis Rakestraw is there. You bring back Rock Ya-Sin. You got Roger McCreary on a 1-year deal. You got defensive back Christian Izzian on a 1-year deal. Now, these are guys that can play multiple positions. That's where Brad Holmes does do a good job. He finds these guys that are versatile. So, from the cornerback standpoint, they've made some moves. You got 2 extra guys that are in there. You lost Amik Robertson, which, by the way, that, you know, you might like. I love the way Amik Robertson talks. But I was prepared for them to re-sign Amik Robertson and me to complain about it. Because he wasn't good last year. Amik Robertson was not good last year. He had the one good game from the previous year, not last year, but the year before, where he shut down Justin Jefferson, and he's been living off of that hype for over a year now. Last year, he was the bottom of the NFL type of cornerback. And Roger McCreary is an upgrade when it comes with that. Now, as far as the safeties go, now both of those guys that I mentioned, Roger McCreary and Christian Izien, are versatile enough to play the safety position too. So they offer depth in those positions. They brought back Harper, who played well last year. Now, we don't know when Brian Branch is going to be back. Those Achilles injuries are they're funny. You know, they go anywhere between 7 and 10 months. 7 and 12 months. Let's go that far. 7 and 12 months. So bad case scenario, you're going to get Brian Branch back in December. And that wouldn't be good. I would hate if it takes that long. But if his rehab is going really, really good and he can get back in 7 months, that's January, February, March, April, May, June, July is 7 months. August is 8 months. September is 11. Oh, wait a minute. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. 9 months is September. 10 months is October. So, are we going to get Brian Branch back before the season starts? That's doubtful. That's way too hopeful. I'm not going to come on here and go, oh, yeah, we're going to get Brian Branch. We can get him back before training camp. That's so much wishful thinking. It's been done before. It's been done before. But that doesn't mean that your guy's going to do it. It's also taken more than 12 months before. So Kirby Joseph, I think Kirby Joseph's going to be there week 1. I mean, people are talking about his career being over. It might, he may never be the same. But it sounds like he's been trending in that right direction. This injury that he has is just something he's going to have to deal with, and he's ready to play this year. Now, is his career going to be a long career? I mean, I don't think that he's going to play a nice, long, fruitful career or even be able to see the end of this contract. But if we can get a good season out of him before the wheels fall off, that would be a good thing. So, I do believe Kirby Joseph is going to be there week 1. I do believe that. Brian Branch, I don't believe that. I don't think you're going to see Brian Branch for at least 4 weeks into the season. I think 4 weeks is hopeful. Looking like 8 to 12 weeks into the season is probably where it's going to be. What's up, Eric?
You like that?
I did a little bit of an extra long show today. But David says that it sounds like Brian Branch is ahead of schedule right now, is on or ahead of schedule. He's at least on for sure. But that Achilles injury that he had, it seems like it's the goods. It's on the good end of it. The type of surgery that he had, he could come back sooner than expected. And sooner than expected, if he can get back in October, I think that people are going to feel good about that. If it can be a 4 week into the season type of thing, I think that we would all feel pretty good about that. But just remember that it could be on the other end of that too. He got injured in December. And if it takes 12 months, it's going to be till December. So, but they have guys, Harper, Whiteside is one of those guys that's in there. Roger McCreary is a guy that can play safety too. And Isian. These are guys that you can cross-train. They even put in Rock Ya-Sin on safety reps last year. So they'll figure some stuff out. We got a lot of draft picks this year. Even though they're later draft picks, you usually can get pretty good value on the back end of the secondary in the fourth. We got a couple fourth-round picks. I mean, I could see us using some of those picks on safeties. You know, take some swings in there. So I just went through all the positions and, you know, just judging by what we've done, I mean, I can see why Ben Solak thinks that the Lions had a really good free agency. I think as Lions fans, a lot of Lions fans, you know, they listen to a lot of the negative press that's out there. That's why the villain's advocate. I'm going to take this in a positive light. And I would have went the other way too. What I like to do is show the other side of what's normal out there. And right now, Detroit media is very negative on every front. They're framing things negatively. Even my boy, John Macaroon. I mean, they're definitely taking the negative side of all of this. And then when they get the outlash, they're like, well, you know, it might not be that bad. Well, I'm going to give you the positive side of it. Because that's what was given. Is the opposite of that. Now, if everybody was sunshine and rainbows, I'd be up here. I'd give you the villain's advocate. I would try to bring people back down to earth. But right now, there's so much negativity out there, I'm not going to feed into it. Because these moves could work. These were not dumb moves. I'm not looking at anything in here and thinking dumb moves. Eric says that my sleepers want him. He will thrive opposite Hutchinson. I also like our linebackers. I think Tyleek takes a step next to Alim, which Alim could take a step. Coming off that injury. I love that take.
You like that?
It's a great take. And thank you for supporting the show. I love the Wonham pick. Earlier, before you got in here, Eric, I picked Wonham. I think that he is going to be the free agent signing of the year. He's going to be this year's Amik Robertson. When Amik Robertson came in, everybody loved him. I think he's going to have a very, very good impact on this defense. He stops the run. He sets an edge. That was our biggest weakness on defense last year, especially at the end of the season when we're trying to get into the playoffs. Teams were running right at Al-Quadin Muhammad. Wonham is a upgrade over Muhammad. I don't care what anybody says. I will tell you you're wrong. He's an upgrade. He's an upgrade for what we're going to use him for. And the last time that Wonham had a elite pass rusher opposite of him was when he was in Minnesota and he had Daniil Hunter on the other side. And he had one season with 8 sacks and one season with 9 sacks. And I'll ask you out there, would you think that that was a success? If Wonham comes in here and has 9 sacks opposite Aiden Hutchinson next year, would you consider that a success? Especially for $3 million. Now, if he does that, then it's going to be $6 million. It's going to cost us $6 million, but that's okay. That's why they put those incentives in there. Now, you've been watching This is the Villain Report. I am your host, Russell Wayne. And if you're a fan of Detroit sports, you can connect with me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X. I'm even on Threads at 313Villain. Liking, commenting, sharing this content helps me. It does. It helps. And I am just a local guy. I'm not endorsed by anybody. I am just a fan with a microphone. So that means that I appreciate any of that liking, commenting, and sharing even more than you can imagine. It helps this machine run. And I appreciate it. I appreciate it. The show's brought to you by TOOLology at the District 142. Yes, the villain, me, Russell Wayne. I'm in a band, the ultimate tribute to Tool, which will be appearing at the District 142 down in Wyandotte on May the 9th. Doors open at 7 p.m. You got to be 21 and up to get in. And you can get your tickets by using that QR code right there. Thank you to our sponsors over at the District 142. And thank you for supporting the program. And like I said, you don't have to use that. If you're listening to the show right now, send me a message. I'll put you on the guest list. I would love to comp a couple tickets. I was able to do that at the last show I did at the machine shop that we sold out. It's a beautiful thing. All right. You're friends with, there you go. I'd love to see you at the show. We do a pretty good tribute. I am just a worthless liar. I am just an imbecile. I will only complicate you. Trust in me and fall as well. I will find a center in you. I will chew it up and leave. Trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me. Thank you to everybody watching the show and the program today. This is the Lion Villain Report. I am your host, Russell Wayne, the 313 Villain. It's faith, family, and then football in here. We use football. Spend time with your family. Use football. Don't let football use you. And may the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again. In Jesus' name, God bless you guys. Peace out.
300万了，